Hey guys, Mark Spector Comics, and I'm back with a first comic book haul of 2020, and then I'm going to talk a little bit about my goals for this year for collecting. But before we get into it, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Like I said, it's 2020, my first comic book haul of the year, and then we'll get into our into Mark Spector's 2020 goals. Alright, so these are some of the recent pickups, and there'll be some big keys towards the end. So we'll start with the first book. So first book, Once and Future, number 5. It's been picking this up right along. It's been a really good series by Kieran Gillen and Dan Mora. And I'm just gonna, I haven't had a chance to read it, but I'm sure it's gonna be pretty good. Alright, next book. Venom number 21. This is the 2020 variant. This is what? Cover B. I wasn't able to get the cover A for whatever reason. I have this on pull, but I guess they probably ran out pretty quickly. I usually like to collect the cover A's, unless there's some really cool artwork. But still been a pretty good series. I only got, like I said before, Venom and Immortal Hulk on my pull list, but I'm thinking of dropping potentially one of them. I'll get into that when I get into my 2020 goals. Alright. These next few books I ended up finding at my LCS for cheap, and I was actually gonna end up giving these in an A-OK. That's to come soon. So first book, it's DC. It's Dark Knight 3: The Master Race. This is book number 2. I picked this up. It's pretty cool. It's Frank Miller and Azzarello in a tie-in. So I was like, all right. Haven't read the series, but looks pretty interesting. Next book is book number 5, the same series. I like that cover. It's really nice. Not sure who did the cover, but like I said, you guys can probably fill me in on the comments below. I have no clue if this is a fun series, if there's anything key about it. Let me know, you guys, you DC fans. And then the other one is book number 8. So when I looked at it, these are, at least the first issue looked pretty thick, but this has a really nice cover with Wonder Woman on there. So there you go, is the first stack. Next book, Dark Knight Returns, The Golden Child. This just came out, I believe, a couple of weeks ago. This is done by Frank Miller and Raphael Grandpa. I thought the cover art was pretty cool, actually. And I talked about this book a little bit in my new comic book day haul, Best Bets of the Week, a couple of weeks ago when this came out. And I've never heard of this artist, Raphael Grandpa, but they had some pretty high incentive ratios for this black label. And I was kind of surprised because DC doesn't do those. So, but I picked up one of the covers. This was like, the one for cover price. I figured, yeah, why not? You may have seen these next few books. These were, if you watched Kenny Comic Head 84's most recent Power Hour, I actually showed these books during an unboxing there. This was from his actual most recent auction. This was from Wolf Blitz. This was his throw-in book, was the Incredible Hulk number 250. Really cool Incredible Hulk and Silver Surfer cover. And then the next 2 books was the books I actually purchased, was Eternals number 5, which is a key book. Most of the key books on the Eternals run are really key. It's like classic Jack Kirby. First appearance of Makari, first appearance of Domo, first appearance of Thena, Zurus and Gamenon. More importantly, because it's the first appearance of Thena, which is going to be played by Angelina Jolie, is why this book is quite pricey. I believe I picked that book up for 15 bucks, so it's a pretty good purchase. Considering in high grade, it's at least a $50, $60 book. Raw, of course. And then Eternals number 8, which I believe I paid $5 for it. Nothing key about this book as far as I know. It's just more because I'm trying to complete the run. And then the last 2 books I picked up recently was at a local shop near me. You know, big collector into Marvel and DC, but it has a bunch of indies there as well that I was surprised to get this at this price. And this is the pilot season number 1 of Stealth by Robert Kirkman and Mark Silvestri. Got it for cover price, and it's like a $20+ book depending on grade. Basically, they're making a movie on this, supposedly. I don't know. It was one of those hot spec alerts on Key Collector Comics. And then the big book I picked up was from the same LCS. I got it for a pretty good price, I think. And it presents really well. The book's complete. You know, it's complete, attached, no issues with it. Got some. Let me just put it out and show you. It's Nova number 1. Like I said, I bought it from this LCS, the original owner. So I'm the second owner of the book, and like I said, this book needs no introduction. It's first appearance of Dick Ryder. Most likely going to show up in Guardians of the Galaxy or some future movie, or they may even do a solo movie on him. Who knows? They're gonna have to talk a little bit about Nova somehow and how the planet got destroyed. So this book, in any grade, is a great investment. It's the first time I actually seen it in the wild, so I was able to pick it up. So I was happy with that. And so yeah, that's my that's my new, my comic book day, first haul of the year. Hope you guys like these books. Now, going to talk a little bit about my 2020 goals. To the 2020 goals for Mark Spector Comics' channel. So, last year I was able to complete 3 of the 4 goals that I had set myself for the year, of which was to get my first original art purchase, which I did. That was my Blood Realm. I was able to get a cover copy and an interior copy. I was able to get my first appearance of Kang the Conqueror, which was Avengers number 8. I was able to get my first Golden Age book, which was an Alex Schomburg cover. Forget what it was, Good Life Comics or something like that. Life Comics. I'll put the picture up. And the last one was Werewolf by Night 32, which I was not able to pick up. So, I was able to get 3 of the 4. I was pretty happy with that. So getting into that, my first goal for 2020 is to get a copy of Werewolf by Night number 32. I've had many opportunities to pick up this book in the past, maybe several years. I probably should have picked one up years ago when the prices were, at that time, still quite high. You could have gotten a 9.0 copy for around $1,000. Now a 9.0 is well over $2,000. But that book's just gotten, it's always been an expensive book. But since the announcement of the TV show, and then, depending on how that does, maybe a movie down the line, the book has just gotten way overpriced. I'm gonna have to do a little bit of hunting for that book, a little bit of wheeling and dealing, and see what I can do. I don't need a 9.0. Honestly, at this point, I'd be happy with a 5.0, just so I can have it in the collection. So that's my first book for 2020, and like I said, I don't need Werewolf by Night 33 or I think it's 39, the second and third appearance. It's just more to get the first appearance. If I can get it in a bundle, you know, package deal, sure, it's great. But the focus is try to get at least a 5.0 copy of Werewolf by Night, number 32. Second book. So I'm going to move this out of the way. I mentioned it several times, and that I wanted to complete what I consider the trinity of this character. I'm going to put the books up. So it's Fantastic Four number 66, Fantastic Four number 67. Obviously 66 is the origin of, was it the, I guess, beginning origin of him? I don't know. And 67 is the origin of first appearance of him, Warlock, in a cameo. So, seeing these two books, you probably know what the third book in the Trinity is. And that's going to be Thor number 165, which is the first appearance of Adam Warlock. So, honestly, I don't need a high-grade copy in that one as well. I'd be happy with a 6.0 to 6.5, because I want to kind of get, you know, the three in similar grades. I probably think, looking at this closely, you know, it's in decent shape. I wouldn't be surprised if it's around a 6 to 7.0 in that, and I didn't pay much for that. I think I paid around $75-80 for it, you know, which is decent for that book. Maybe it's slightly overpriced, but it is what it is. But like I said, I'm on the hunt for Thor number 165 in a similar 6.0 to 7.0 range. It's a tough book to get in a high grade because of the all black cover, but the book is you know, it's a nice looking book. It's obviously going to be a bigger key once the Guardians of the Galaxy movie comes out, but they've been teasing this character for years, so it's a great opportunity to buy that book anytime now until that movie gets announced with the with the trailer and whatnot. So that's my second book. Book number 3, I was looking at, so like I mentioned in the 2019, I picked up my first Golden Age book by Alex Schomburg. For 2020, I kind of wanted to get my second, favorite artist, basically, of the Golden Age. And some people, will appreciate his artwork, but it's Frank Frazetta. So he's been known to do a ton of, great artworks over the years. And the book I'm looking for is actually some EC, some pre-code horror. And this is a well-known cover done by Frank Frazetta. It's Weird Science Fantasy, number 29. It's the last pre-code issue horror book of that series, and it's a pretty pricey book. Honestly, I'd be happy with a lower grade, maybe, I don't know, a 3.0 to 5.0 in that issue. It's a tough book to also get in high grade because it's a lot of the outer part of the book is black. It's a black cover. So, but it has a really cool, really cool cover there. I believe it's painted. I'm not sure, but yeah, it's right towards the end of the Golden Age. It came out in May of 1955. So that's book number 3. And then the last thing I wanted to cover for 2020 And I think this will be one of the easier ones to complete, and that's my Eternals run. So I showed 2 of the books right there on the most recent comic haul that I picked up, which was Eternals number 5 and Eternals number 8. I was thinking of mainly trying to pick up the keys, but I only have a few more books left to pick up in the entire run, so I figured why not complete it. You know, some of the books are fairly cheap, so I just wanted to show you the books before I finish this off. And I'll start from the back and work my way front. So this is Eternals number 1. This is the king size annual. They only had one annual, and that was the what ended up being, I believe, the last issue in the entire run. So I picked up that book. That was a fairly cheap book. A lot of these books I picked up, you know, a year or 2 ago, before you know, a lot of people were even looking for the series. So that's that one. This is the issue number 18. Issue number 17. And then I jump a little bit there because I don't have the issues between 17 and this next one. So this is issue number 12, which is the first appearance of the Unimind. This is a rather, I think, important issue, and hasn't yet picked up a lot of steam. Not really sure why. Maybe it just hasn't yet been explained. But you know, it's important for the characters in the Eternals, because they have to absorb and share some of the, you know, type of powerful energy that the Unimind harnesses. It's their way to communicate. You know, so I expect this book to go up in value a little bit. So that's issue number 12. Issue number 11, which I've talked about previously, which is the first appearance of Druig, the Lord of Flames and Nightmare. That's going to be basically the main antagonist of the movie. And I got 2 copies of that. Issue number 9, which is another key appearance. It's the first appearance of Sprite. It's that little, you know, kid character that you see in the I guess the movie art. I showed you this one already, number 8. Here's number 7, which is a very big key in this series that no one talks about often, which is the first mention of the One Above All. So like I said, I got Eternals number 7, and then the last 2 books I got are Eternals number 5, which I just showed that. I picked that up in the recent YouTube auction. And to wrap up, the last book I got, picked this book up years ago, and way before there was even an announcement of Eternals. I just knew that this was like some way early spec. I picked this up, 9.6 Eternals number 1, for a whopping $50. Get a chance, look to see what that book's worth now. Talk about a mega score. So as you can see, I do have a few gaps there in my Eternals run. Not too many in there. Most of them are, you know, the earlier ones, issues 2, 3, and 4, 6, issue 10, 13, 14, 15, and 16 are the issues I need to complete the run. And you know, they don't have to be high grade. It's just more about me completing the actual run more so than anything else. I wanted to, you know, basically read the whole run. I've already read issue 1. I picked up one of those, the True Believers, so And they said that, the first couple of issues were tough reads, and issue 1 was kind of a tough read, but I wanted to read the rest of it, before the whole movie came out and whatnot. So, like I said, don't need that in a high grade, and I'd be willing to trade too as well to get those books as well if somebody has them. Let me know in the chat. You can message me on Instagram or even in the comments below. So those are the books, my goals for 2020. Like I said, complete the Eternals run. Finish the Fantastic Four trilogy, so basically getting Thor 165 in a similar grade, between that 6 to 7.0 grade. Preferably I want to get that already graded because it's a tough, it's going to be tough to look around and get something, with that black cover, and it's going to be subjective and all that bull crap. So want to get that book. Werewolf by Night 32, which is going to be the most expensive book, I think, because I wanted to get that in a 5.0 grade. And then the last book was the what was it? Weird Science Fantasy number 29, which is that Golden Age Frank Frazetta classic cover arcs. So a lot of people on YouTube and Instagram, I've been talking about their 2020 goal list, and these great books that they want to achieve. They want, their big want lists or a wish list. I personally don't do want lists or wish lists because I could want a Marvel Comics number 1 or Amazing Fantasy number 15 for 2020, and I know damn well I'm not going to get the book. So, like I said, I'm very goal oriented. I work in the medical field, and in the profession that I am in, we're very goal-oriented. If we don't achieve the goals that we set out for that year, it affects our annual performance and potentially our bonuses / raises. So I like to instill that same, background into my collecting, goals. So I make these books, achievable, nothing outrageous, but not like something I can just go pick up in the back issue bin either. So, I want it to be somewhat challenging, but yet achievable. And as you saw, the books I picked up last year for my 2020 goals, the only one I didn't pick up was Werewolf by Night 32, and that's only because the book jumped up dramatically in price. Otherwise, I would have completed the whole 2019 list. So, how do you go about picking up these books? Very few people actually put down prices that they were willing to spend, grades they were looking at, and the sacrifices that they're willing to make to get these books. Because some of these books are quite expensive. So, like I said, Werewolf by Night, I'm going to look this up currently. Werewolf by Night 32, and I'm going to use Go Collect because they do, get a good average between auction sites and online prices of what the current going price is for a CGC 5.0, and the last sold book was in December of 2019, and it's averaging around $625. So that's the first book, $625 for Werewolf by Night. I'm going to try to get that because I think that's a decent price. I'm not going to get that 9.0 that I could have gotten years ago. I should have gotten it for $1,000. Now that 9.0 is around $2,000. So there goes that book in that grade. So first book in a 5.0, $625. So good. There's a starting point. Thor number 165. And I was looking at between a 6.0 and a 7.0. That's going to run around the $250 to $425 range. So that's not bad. I'm going to shoot right in the middle for a 6.5, and that's $300. All right. That's achievable, and this book's only going to go up in price. So I got $300 so far for that book. I got $625, so now we're at $925. And then the last book was Weird Science Fantasy, issue number 25, which is going to be the hardest of all those books to get. It's a Golden Age book. There's not many of them out there. If I go in there into the census, according to Go Collect, in the census there are only 188 graded. Talk about scarcity and rarity. 188. It's the lowest amount of any of the books I've talked about. So this book demands a premium. So for Weird Science Fantasy number 29, I'm looking for a low grade, and honestly I'd be okay with that at first. And it looks like the last one sold. I want to get between I'm going to say a 3.0 and a 5.0. And this is where the pricing is going to get a little bit off. So Go Collect says between 180 and 425, and those prices were last year. It was like, no, sorry, 2018. So, you know, I'm guessing it's probably double that, because this book has been growing strong on Go Collect. You can actually go on the options and hit dive deeper, and it shows you grade by grade what the increase in price is. And for example, a 3.0 has gone up 115% from that last price of 180, and in that 5.0 it has gone up 56% from that last sold price of 425. So, you know, I'm guessing around 500 bucks. All right. Is going to be my goal that I want to spend, 500. So 925 total going into this book plus 500. You're talking about 1400 and change. How do I go about doing that? How do I go about getting $1,400 for those 3 books, not including, you know, to completing the Eternals run, which like I said, I'd be open to doing trades or doing something along the lines of that to get those books. So one way I can do, if you guys watched my new comic book day best bets of the week for $30 or less, I do that series for a specific reason. You know, if I budgeted myself $30 every single week for new comic book day, 52 weeks in the year, 30 times 52 is $1,560 a year I could potentially spend on comic books. So if I just use that method in itself, I could cover those 3 books and potentially complete that Eternals run. There you go. I could easily do that. And that is a realistic, smart investing approach to buying your goal books. So you can take that as a nice way to achieve your potential 2020 want list books, goals, you know, wish list, whatever it may be. And I can easily do that for my books. Another approach, if you don't have $1,500, well, just do some simple math. How much do you spend weekly on comic books? Do you spend $30? Do you spend $50? Do you spend $80? So $80 in the course of 52 weeks, you're spending over $4,000 on books. Yeah, they're new comic books. Yes, you want to read them. You want to stay afloat to see what the current stories are. But you'll never buy that big book that you want if you're spending $4,000 a year on new comics. So there is a fine balance there. You can either cut back on those books and use that to invest on your goals, or the alternative is you can sell some books that you have in your collection. So what I did last year, I had, and you're going to probably choke up a little bit, but I had an Amazing Spider-Man 300 9.8, that I bought a couple years ago for just over $1,000. And when the announcement came out that Venom movie was coming out, I sold that book for about $2,400. And you're like, wow, that's a huge return on investment. You more than doubled. Yeah, I did. And I was pretty lucky too, because last time I checked, that book on Go Collect has about, I want to say, close to, let me see, close to, yep, just over 20,000 books graded on the CGC census for ASM 300. That is not a scarce book by any means. You can get that book every day of the week, and there's over 1,200 copies in CGC at a 9.8. So for me to get that much for that book, I was grateful, because I was able to use that book to cover basically everything I wanted for my 2019 list, with the exception of Werewolf by Night 32. So there is your alternative. I know a lot of people are thinking, wow, you sold your ASM 300. But yeah, I can get that book back. I'm not going to be able to get another Weird Science Fantasy 29. There's only 188 graded on the CGC census. I'm going to have to search a long time to get that book. So there's a balancing act. So you could sell some books in your PC. You could also do, some of those little auctions. There's a lot of great YouTube auctions that do pop-up videos. I love those pop-up videos because they put up a lot of the books sometimes that I'm looking for. Like I said, those 2 Eternal books I picked up from Wolf Blitz. A little shout out to Wolf Blitz. You helped me get closer to completing my run. So I appreciate that. You can do that, or you do what people do, buy those books weekly and you flip them and use that money for extra revenue towards your book. People frown upon flippers, but honestly, somebody needs those books that you have. So there's multiple strategies to achieving your 2020 goals list. I hope this helped you guys out. I'm going to use this strategy to help fund my books for 2020. And at the end of the year, I'm going to do a recap if I, completed the list, or as I go along, I'm going to do checking off the books that I get. So I want to see you guys potentially do the same thing. I want to see if you guys go ahead and complete those books that you want for 2020. All right, guys, this was a little bit longer than I wanted to, but, something fun, and I wanted to get out there, my 2020 goal list, and obviously my first comic haul of the year. If you like what you saw, please don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Hit that bell notification so you stay afloat of my recent content. And until next time, it's Mark Spector Comics. Out.